Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. So, Devin Haney retains his undisputed lightweight titles against Vasyl Lomachenko. But I have to say, I don't agree with the decision. I picked Haney to win on points, and in fact, I had Loma winning 115, 113. The crowd booed considerably after the fight. They booed while Haney was being, interviewed. Lomachenko had a sort of look of bemusement on his face. Didn't quite know what had gone on by the looks of things. Well, he knew, but he was like, really? You think he won? Interestingly, Shakur Stevenson was interviewed after Haney and Lomachenko and said, Lomachenko should have won the fight. I should be next for Haney and I'll stand him on his head. You know, it does make you wonder, and I've said this before many times, what Lomachenko could have achieved if he'd stayed at super featherweight. He would have been undisputed. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant tonight, and this was a case of an A-plus fighter in Haney who showed a lot of things in there against let's call him an A fighter, a grade A fighter against an A-plus fighter who was Lomachenko. Lomachenko is an absolute maestro. Devin Haney is an extremely good fighter and a very good champion. But Lomachenko, he just showed it. He was dwarfed by Haney, this enormous lightweight, He's never been a lightweight, Lomachenko. And in the opening round, Haney came out looking, really quite ominous. Lomachenko started quick. This was the interesting thing. Lomachenko, normally he takes a round or two to have a look. Not this time. He came out. He thought, okay, I'm going to go to it. He started very, very early, virtually from the opening seconds. And Haney was matching him, and it was tit for tat. And very interestingly, and I thought really quite ominously, Haney was going to the body well, whereas Lomachenko was completely ignoring the body. I thought in the early, the first 4 rounds, I hit 2 each after 4 rounds, but I thought Haney's going to take over here because he's the bigger man. He's, you would assume he's more physical. He's physically superior. He's going to be banging in those body punches, for the remaining 2/3 of the fight. He's going to grind down Loma. Not a bit of it. The smaller man absorbed this very, very accurate and with both hands body punches. And I mean, Haney's now 30-0 with this decision. He's only got 15 KOs. Maybe at this level he just doesn't hit very, very hard. I mean, it was amazing because Lomachenko was absorbing these punches and was constantly coming forward, constantly putting the pressure on. And yet again, we always talk about mental and physical pressure. But for the first 6 rounds, Haney was fine. Haney was handling it. He was holding his shape. He was using the jab well. Like I say, the body punching. Of course, as you probably know, Lomachenko is a southpaw. Haney's orthodox. And at only 24 years old and the bigger man, you would think, well, he's going to increase, go through the gears in the second half of the fight. And the older man by, 11 years older, Lomachenko, 35. Surely, he can't hang with this younger, bigger kid. But from the mid rounds up, from say the 6th or 7th maybe, it was noticeable that Haney had blood coming out of his mouth. And also, suddenly, he was taking a few steps back. He was a little bit more reluctant to come in. And Loma was beginning to set traps. Lightning fast hands, loves that as a southpaw, loves the double backhand, which is kind of a Loma thing. Not many fighters can do that. Very, very quick, lots of flurries. And gradually, in that middle third of the fight, Lomachenko was beginning to turn the screws. Now, I would say rounds 9, 10, 11, I think were Loma's best rounds by far. And it was noticeable that Haney his father in the corner wasn't beginning to panic, but there was an air of great concern. I wouldn't say panic, but concern about Haney, because he began to ask his father questions in the corner, like, he was almost looking to the corner for answers. And also his style, his shape was beginning to unravel a little bit, whereas Lomachenko, noticeably in the last third of the fight, was that he was the one going through the gears, the man who was the smaller fighter, the man who supposedly isn't as physically strong as Haney, was starting to get very physical in there as well. At one point, he sort of brushed Haney off, little sidesteps from Loma like he always does, and it was so noticeable in rounds 9, 10, and 11 that Lomachenko was really looking for a knockout now. And that is why I find it mystifying that in the last round, he seemed to take that round off. And my God, it cost him. Because 115, 113 to Haney on 2 of the cards, 116, 112. I don't know what the hell he was watching. I think that was Dave Moretti's card. But the 2 guys who had it 115, 113, I haven't looked at which rounds they scored for which fighter. But if they gave that last round to Haney, then I think Loma is going to rue not really going for it in that final round, because if he had won that round, he could have had a majority draw. I just think that, again, if only Loma had, it's too late now, if only he'd stayed at super featherweight, and he looks anything but shot. I mean, when you get into your early 30s, mid-early, certainly in your late 30s, you want to be taking time off. And of course, Lomachenko did have time out of the ring, but it was because he was serving in Ukraine for, in the forces. Whereas Haney has been busy, as you would expect a young champion to be. Digressing slightly, I mentioned that Shakur Stevenson was in the ring saying he wants Haney next. I've often thought, I've thought this for a long time now. If Shakur Stevenson ever fought Haney, he'd knock him out. And watching that performance today, I'm thinking the same thing. I certainly think Shakur beats Haney, but Haney's probably going to go up to 140. It's going to be very, very. He can't stay at 135 anymore, Haney. I can only presume that he will. At 140, he'll have a bit more strength, and he is only 24, so perhaps he'll get more of that man strength, be able to have a better engine, be able to go through the gears more. He's probably long overdue a move up from 135. But they look like there were 2 weight divisions difference between them, and for Lomachenko to do that to a much bigger man in the final third of the fight, and in my opinion, to pinch that fight, I had it 115, 113. I really think that Lomachenko is a special fighter, definitely a Hall of Famer. I mean, it's so bizarre now because his record stands at 17 wins and 3 defeats. It doesn't look particularly imposing, but when you consider the quality of the opposition and the fact that he's spent most of his, or at least half of that career, in fighting in a weight division where he doesn't even belong, and doing what he's done, I mean, it's quite amazing. He's an amazing fighter, whereas Haney is merely very good, which is not a bad thing to be. But so at the end of the fight, like I say, Haney looked by far the more exhausted, blood coming out of his mouth. Lomachenko had markings under both eyes, a little bit of a knot under, I think, his left eye, and an abrasion under his right eye. But this was really high level stuff. Very contrasting styles, but really high level. I mean, whichever style you prefer, the way they blended was great. But I mean, for the first 6 rounds, you were thinking, "Wow, this is what boxing's all about. This is great stuff." Only the result leaves me with a bit of a bad taste, to be honest with you. But you tell me what you think. You leave your comments below in that in the comments section. I'll be eager to read them and get your take on it. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Haney did win? Do you think Lomachenko should have had the decision? Maybe you think a draw would have been fair. I don't know. You tell me. If you're new to this channel, of course, please subscribe and please hit the like button. That helps us out a great deal. And spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. We want to build those numbers up. And as always, thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. Bye for now.